Hi everybody, this is the copper cycle lab that we're going to be doing today. As you can see, I am well set up for lab, no loose or dangling clothing, it's tucked in, my hair is tied back, I've got goggles on. The directions say that you need gloves, but I'm going to talk about that a little more in class. The important thing is if you get anything on your hands, make sure to wash them off right away. Even if you're wearing gloves, it's important. And also make sure to use soap before you leave the lab. Proper footwear is a must today because of glass and also because of chemicals. All right, so you've probably seen the procedure and you probably should read through the procedure. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be walking through the procedure, not step one though. Step one is something that I show you, and therefore I'm not going to show it right now because I'm going to show you in class. But the very first step of the lab involves this blue liquid. In fact, let's go over all the stuff that you have in front of you right now. So if you look down here, I have a test tube and a test tube rack. I've got a test tube holder. The proper way to use this is you squeeze to open it and you unsqueeze to close. And so if you squeeze this, you can put it on that, and you notice it just stays there by itself. When you pick it up, make sure you don't accidentally squeeze it. In fact, it's good to hold it in such a way that you can't accidentally squeeze it, because if you accidentally squeeze it, it falls. So don't do that. All right, so that's the test tube holder. We've got a waste container right here. It would be a beaker, but it's this is an Erlenmeyer flask actually. Over here we have a stir rod. We have a piece of filter paper. We have a rinse bottle. There might only be one of these per table instead of per group, but this is where everything really good happens. This is your container of chemicals. So you have your copper nitrate, you have your DW, distilled water, sodium hydroxide, NaOH. You have your HCl, hydrochloric acid, and you also have your waste pipette, so the directions will tell you when to use that. Also, one per table over here is a hot water bath. I call it a jacuzzi because more than one test tube can go in at a time. It's not a single person bath there, so multiple groups can use it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start going through the lab right now. The first thing you're going to want to do is put your copper nitrate solution into your test tube. And so I'm putting all of it into the test tube. And then you're going to want to make sure to write down your observations, like what does that look like? I think it looks like a blue liquid. So I'm writing on there step 2, and observation is a blue liquid. And you might even want to write this copper nitrate we're talking about. The chemical key on the side tells you what the names and the formulas of different things are. So you can use the formula as well. All right, then it's going to say to add the sodium hydroxide solution. So I'm going to look in here for the sodium hydroxide, NaOH, and I'm going to add that. All right, we're doing this for demonstration purposes today, so I'm not showing you what it looks like in there, but you might want to give it a little swirl. You also probably want to use your stir rod to do that, and you're definitely going to want to write down what that looks like. All right. If you guys know what the signs of a chemical change are, you know, if the precipitate's made, if there's a color change, if there's an odor change, if it's irreversible, if there's a heat change, one of the things you might want to do is just feel the test tube and see what it feels like. All right, the next thing it says to do is to put it in a hot water bath. So what we're going to do is we're going to, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped something. It said add about 1/3 of the pipette of distilled water. So a little bit of distilled water. Okay, now we're going to put it in the hot water bath. So remember, squeeze to open, unsqueeze to close, lift, put it in there. By the way, that's not what yours will look like. And you can either leave the tongs on there, the test tube tongs, or you can squeeze and just leave it in the hot water bath. As long as no liquid's getting in the top, everything's okay. So you're going to leave it there. This is really important. What I'm about to say is really important. You're going to want to leave it in there until everything stopped changing. So if you see over time, like you wait a couple minutes and it looks exactly the same as when before you waited a couple minutes. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, time has elapsed. So it might look something like that. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull it out, and you're going to want the directions say to let it settle. All right, and to decant the top portion. By the way, you can use your hand once this is cool, so you can just kind of put your hand over it to feel if you see heat rising, and then gently touch it to see if There's that. By the way, see this hot plate right here? I'm very carefully going to move this over to the side because I don't want to hit my arm against it accidentally. That would be bad. All right, so decant or use the waste pipette. So what we're going to do is we're going to pipette off the top layer there, just where you see liquid, and put it in the waste container. And then you might have to let it settle again. And you're going to pipette off the top. The idea is that there's a solid in there that we want to separate from the liquid and get as much of the extra liquid out as possible. Finally, it's going to talk to us about putting in the hydrochloric acid. So we're going to put in the hydrochloric acid there. By the way, I did that very quickly. You probably want to let that happen over 5 or 10 minutes even. And you want to use the stir rod again, just to make sure everything reacted. This is important. You probably want to call me over here just to make sure that everything reacted. If not, I might add a little extra hydrochloric acid for you. So we're going to make sure everything reacts. And then what you're going to do is you're going to grab a piece of aluminum foil, which I'm just grabbing over here. We forgot that. You're going to make it into a fish hook. It's going to be a very, very long fish hook. So we're just going to make it like kind of into a wire. I'm going to put it in there. And make sure it's hooked over the top. And you're going to want to, as it's reacting, feel the outside. Again, yours will not look the same as mine. Feel the outside. You might not want to hold your hand there. Things might get a little rough. Right, and then the final step of the lab is to filter. So what you're going to do is you're going to follow your directions really carefully. And you're going to take your filter paper and fold it in half. And then fold it in half again, like a quarter of a pizza. And, can you pause? Okay, we forgot about the funnel. So that's just water dripping there. But you're gonna put the funnel on top of your waste container, and you're gonna open only one of the leaves so that you can see that there's no way anything can go through the filter. So it's just gonna be like almost like a coffee filter. And you can wet it a little bit just to make sure it stays. Don't put too much water in. And then when this is done reacting, you can pull out the aluminum foil, and you can just rinse it a little bit into the funnel. Again, yours won't look like that. And I can put the aluminum foil down, and now I can pour whatever remains from this test tube into there and just rinse the rest into there. All right, it might take a little while for the water to go out. If this doesn't finish by the end of the lab, what you're going to want to do is put your name on a piece of paper and put it underneath this, and then what I'll do is I'll make sure that the filter paper with your final product goes on your piece of paper and that you can get it the next lab. All right, if you have any questions in class, just let me know. And make sure to actually read the procedure because there's lots of steps that I didn't necessarily go over. Thank you for watching.